Okay, guys. Juan, how are you holding up?
All right. I mean, we're a bunch of fucking recluses anyway. What's different, really?
I mean, I've eaten one of my hands, but I have another one left, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm all like halfway through one, couple fingers.
Yeah, the one thing about Coronavirus Watch is it doesn't affect podcasting, So there's that.
Not for us.
Not for us.
Not our show. Yeah, I have seen a couple live podcasts get canceled, so it definitely does affect them.
See, this is why you got to do it the way we do it, guys.
Well, I mean, once entire life gets transferred over to Skype calls, everything will just continue on as normal. We're all just trapped in our buildings.
So real quickly, guys, we have something else on the schedule today. But before we get to that, both of you have seen The Invisible Man. I have not seen The Invisible Man yet. But real quickly, give me your 60-second review. All right, Chris, go.
Man, I tried to look at that movie, but I couldn't see it. It was invisible.
Wow.
No, but seriously, it's a really, really good movie. You only gave me 60 seconds, so I have to talk fast. It's really well directed. The plot, it's directed in a way that you're not thinking about the ludicrousy of an Invisible Man plot, which is like why Hollow Man doesn't completely hold up. But it's like 4-star horror direction is amazing. Cinematography is excellent. Lead actress, so I can't remember her name right now, but she's in everything. Is fantastic. It's a great feminist survivor story. Just some good stuff. Probably criminally underseen, just because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. But yeah, if this is the direction that the next Dark Universe is gonna go, then I'm all for it.
Sweet, Casey. Your thoughts?
I think we've shit canned the Dark Universe, and they're all going to be standalone movies. But if they all went in the direction this movie did, I'd be very happy. I went 3.5 stars because I felt John Cena was very underutilized in his role. But I did thoroughly enjoy this movie, and it was a great time. I went in a theater that was actually pretty full. Which surprised me because a lot of people were saying theirs was fairly empty and that...
Yeah, mine was fairly empty.
Yeah, this one was... I went on a Friday... I went on the Friday it was released, so that might have affected things a little bit. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I love the original Invisible Man. I liked Hollow Man when it came out. It doesn't really hold up at all. This could have used some cool shit that was in Hollow Man, like gorillas turning invisible. That shit's dope. But the way the invisibility works in this movie, I don't think that would have been a thing anyway. I really enjoyed this. I don't want to go over the allotted 60 seconds. So yeah, 3.5 for me. Go see it. Don't go see it. Just wait for it to come out on something so you're safe. Okay, yeah.
Well, go see it, but don't go see it because you can't see it.
I'm gonna add really quickly. Like, I'm also a huge fan of the original James Whale Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And I did like Hollow Man when it originally came out, and I probably would watch it again just for like entertainment factor. But I feel like this is the first time that an Invisible Man movie has been scary, or at least had like really tense sequences, and it's done so simply with just shots of empty rooms. And you're just kind of waiting for something to happen.
You got to figure it should have been easy to crack to just make a Paranormal Activity movie, but pretend it's an invisible man instead of a ghost or demon.
Is there a scene where she thinks it's her ex-boyfriend, but then it turns out it's just Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Nah, and you know, I should give
it
another.
She's cooking bacon.
Yeah, she does make bacon.
Maybe that's a reference.
I should give it another half star for not having to see Kevin Bacon's dick in this one. I've seen that guy's dick way too many times, man.
Listen, a man's proud of his dick. You can't fault him for that.
Yeah, I know. He can't fucking keep it in his pants, apparently. You get an R-rated movie, you got the twig and berries all on the screen.
Wait, was the graboid in Tremors actually Kevin Bacon's dick? Just
exactly.
Just made to look giant?
It was actually one of the tentacles. The mouth part they had to CGI in because, you know, like they thought it would be a little too risque. If it looked exactly like a penis. He was actually in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as well, as Snake Freddy.
Haven't you missed us, everybody?
So in closing, Kevin Bacon's got a huge old dick.
Well, that cold open went longer than I planned.
Oh, just like Kevin Bacon, longer than we thought. Thank you.
Wow. All right, everybody, welcome to another miserable podcast. First things first, happy birthday, Chris Pistol.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Oh my god. I'm so embarrassed. You called me out on the pod.
No,
I'm so old, you guys.
you're not that old.
It's okay. I turned 40 in July. That's old.
Oh.
Delete that, Zach. I know you're going to fucking leave this in.
Yes, it was our own Chris Pistol's birthday yesterday. During all
True.
this craziness, I hope it was a good one, man.
Is a good one. I had pizza.
That's always good.
Pizza
cookies.
rules.
I wonder what Chuck E. Cheese is like right now during this whole thing. It's probably shut down.
Oh, God. I heard it actually was shut down. And I do not recommend going in any ball pit of any kind during something like this. So those things are just a breeding ground for bacteria.
Chuck E. Cheese is probably where this whole thing started, honestly. But there's like in our local mall in Burbank, there's a place called Round One that's opening up. Like they just opened up this last weekend, yesterday actually.
Unfortunately.
And it's like a Dave and Buster's, but they opened up at the worst possible time.
Yeah, because I just want to eat finger food and play on arcade machines at a time like this.
I was given the lovely gift of 2 weeks off of work, so that's a thing.
Nice.
I'm still at work, but
Me too.
Wait, right now? Get off of your podcast, right? You can't
No,
podcast
not
while
right
you're at
now.
work, Zach.
okay, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't tuned in before, we are a horror podcast. We explore the intersection of horror and pop culture. We review current movies, and we also do retrospectives, which is what we're doing today. Because today is another miserable retrospective. We've done a couple of these.
Emphasis on miserable for this year.
Emphasis on miserable for this one. So we've done a couple of these before. They used to be called Year in Horror, but we kind of rebranded. Anyway, so this today, another miserable retrospective. Each time we do one of these, we focus on a different year, and we talk about 9 horror movies from that year. We kind of split them in the rounds, so we each pick 3 horror movies. We'll pit one of our movies against the other 2, and then at the end of the round, we will vote on which one we most want to watch.
Oh, I hope you guys are ready for some fucking W's this time, because I'm taking the L at least 2 out of 3. Oh.
So 3 rounds. Each round has 3 movies. We've each picked one. We kind of pitch our movies to each other, and then we vote on the one we want to watch. The year that we are discussing today is 1993, which I picked at the last retrospective episode because I won. That is the prize if you win. And I just picked it randomly. Unfortunately, as it turns out, 1993 is not the best year for horror movies.
But a damn good year for Seth Green because he's in 2 of my fucking movies. That's
just
real.
missed 92, which is like a fantastic year.
I just picked it at random, guys. I'm sorry. It just seemed like a good year. I am sorry.
Okay, so basically nothing wanted to compete with Jurassic Park, so everything else that came out was dog shit. That's what happened.
Well, there was
think-
Carnosaur. Carnosaur came out this year. Carnosaur gave no shits.
Did I ever pitch you guys on my movie about the cannibalistic prostitutes called Carnivore?
No.
Yeah, well, that's a thing. Send inquiries to the miserable pile of secrets email address. What is
It'd make
that?
a good double feature with Frankenhooker, so...
Dude, everything makes a good fucking double feature with Frankenhooker, like
And-
Schindler's List.
And Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, oh god, the gore cut specifically, which I actually have questions for Chris for one of his choices, but we'll get it when it gets to it, because I need to see what version of one of the movies he saw, so...
Okay,
that reminds
guys.
me.
So we've got a lot to get into. So let's do it. Round 1. Another miserable retrospective, 1993.
Okay, I'm starting off with the shittiest of my three. Okay, there's a guy. His name's Albert Pyun. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He was a house director for Canon Films. He kind of has like, he's kind of an auteur if you watch all of his stuff. He has a lot of things that are very similar. He likes people in trench coats. He likes weird, extraneous backstories that mean nothing to the plot and should probably cut out of the movie. I'd say like the most well-known thing that he's made is Cyborg, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. That's probably what you know him best from. But what's going on is he made a movie about an arcade game that sucks you into the game and kind of kills you and all that stuff. It is called Arcade, because that's a creative fucking title right there. And that's the name of the game in the movie, Arcade. That's what they came up with.
Wow, really?
Yeah, good times. It's a full moon release. Say no more. I could just drop the mic right now and tell you this year was not good for full moon releases. There's a lot going on here. You get Seth Green. He's in this.
Hey.
You also, now this is probably the most important, is your main character is played by Megan Ward, aka Encino Man's Megan Ward. But even the connection to Encino Man is not enough to save this movie. So a group of arcade kids go to an arcade. An executive played by Q from Star Trek gets them to play test a game that starts sucking people's souls into the game and stuff like that. But that's before we see a reenactment of the main character, Megan Ward from Encino Man, her mother blowing her brains out, because we really needed that in this movie. Makes no sense to the rest of the movie whatsoever. Her mother being a suicide victim, nothing belongs here. The other main kid is Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Shit, really?
Playing a teenager, and I don't think he's a teenager in 1993.
I think he is. Yeah, no, for sure. Christmas
think
Story
he's-
was like early 80s, and he was like, what? I mean, he's early, I mean, not a teenager, maybe he's early 20s.
Yeah, I think he's
He can
going to
play
be
a
in his
teenager.
20s at least. And he's like the cool teenager that wears black turtlenecks and all black clothing, but he's in a turtleneck like the whole time.
I feel like when he did Elf, he was like in his early 30s, and that was like 2003, so...
Okay, that makes sense then.
He's probably early 20s.
But his first scene is shot in a way that you wonder if he was added to the scene later, and then you just figure out that, and you figure this out through the rest of the movie, that Albert Pyun doesn't do master shots fucking ever in this movie. And it drives me crazy, because it's so hard to get a sense of space when everything is made up of close-ups. It is, oh god, now that I mention it, if you didn't notice it watching it before, you will notice it now, and it will drive you crazy while watching this. Long story short, Ralphie loves Megan Ward's character. She has another boyfriend. She goes into the machine to save the boyfriend, and she actually does and gets with him. He professes his love for her before they go to the machine, and she just shrugs it off. And that's the end of that romance subplot. She just gets together with her regular boyfriend again. It's really fucking weird. And so I just wanted to get all that out of the way so I could talk about the game itself. So Nick Arcade had better graphics than this, even though it's like entirely the same premise except for like the soul thing. So they go into a virtual reality game, and they interact with some CGI that's really bad early CGI, but it also works in a way that you wonder if they were given a screensaver pack of CGI films and they built a movie around it, because none of it feels like it was actually made for this movie. And that kind of hinders its watchability a bit, because they rely on the CGI a lot. Also, when they actually go inside the game at the end, they ran out of CGI footage, so they start shooting things in front of a green screen and kind of having like a quest going on. And even with the green screen, it looks like it's inside of a warehouse with some slime scattered around. It really sucks.
So why should I want to watch this, Casey, since you're supposed to be
no.
pitching it to me?
I know, but I picked the movies before I watched them, and this movie sucks. Don't watch it.
You're
Unless
supposed
you
to
really
want to win, Casey. I know you want to pick the next year. You got to win, man.
honestly, like, I feel like just for having to watch this movie, I should win automatically because I guarantee this sucks less. This sucks more than all the ones that you guys picked. That should be the real contest. Whose movie sucked more this time? And if you want to see the movie that sucks the most, watch Arcade. My name is Casey, and I approve of this message.
All right, then.
Hold on, I have to read a very important review for this that I found on Letterboxd.
I've read this review. I think I know which one you're picking.
Oh, it's very short. It just says, while watching this, my newborn son peed in his mouth while I was changing his diaper. I think he enjoyed that just about as much as I enjoyed this movie.
Damn, that's not the one I was thinking, but that's pretty fucking good.
I actually wanted to pick this movie before you picked it, Casey, just because I thought the plot sounded fun. I knew it was probably terrible, but like, so.
I really should have inflicted this movie on you, Zach.
Okay. So that
But
was Arcade.
I would not inflict that on our listeners, so do not watch this movie.
Hey, it's Arcade. It has Seth Green and Ralphie from A Christmas Story. So those
Right?
are
Hey, Encino Man's Megan Ward.
Okay.
Encino Man's Megan Ward. Also, it's available for free on Tubi TV, so it won't cost you any money. But I didn't tell you that because I don't want you to watch this movie.
Have we referenced Encino Man or Society more on this podcast?
I hope it's Encino Man, but it's probably Society.
I think Encino Man.
At this point, it's Encino Man just because of you, Casey.
I'm telling you, I haven't been wheezing any juice the last few days.
Chris, you can go next. Honestly, Chris, you should have gone first. It was your birthday, man.
Oh, yes.
For shame, Casey. For shame.
If it's my birthday, then I get to pick who goes first, and I would have picked Casey.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that arcade shit over with.
So, I only watched one of these movies I hadn't seen before. And I honestly, this had been on my sort of curious watch list for a while. This is a movie I would see the VHS cover in the video store when I was younger and be like, this looks interesting. And that's Fire in the Sky. I almost said 1993's Fire in the Sky, but that's you fucking know that already. So this is an alien abduction movie.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story, allegedly, yes. I was looking up the IMDb trivia, and it's basically saying some of the real versus not real things that are in the book versus in the film, and it just gets to one point where it's the entire scene where it shows him inside with the aliens is nothing like the book at all. They just completely deviated
The
from
whole
his
scene that you're
actual
waiting
story.
to see in this movie.
Yeah.
More than
his
anything.
his entire story. Yeah, we changed that. It was too boring.
That scene absolutely holds up, though. That scene is fantastic.
That scene is freaky as hell. So let me just talk about this movie really quickly. So it's basically a group of rednecks out in the woods. One of them, Peter Berg, director Peter Berg, by the way, who I actually worked on one of his movies.
Ooh.
Nice.
A group of rednecks out in Arizona, which I always forget that Arizona parts of it look different. When I think Arizona in my mind, I just think of desert, but Arizona actually has woods and mountains and fern trees. But
Lake
anyway,
Havasu.
yeah, and aliens. So these group of guys out in the woods, they're chopping down trees. All of a sudden, they have an alien encounter, like you do, and that sequence is actually, I think, really well done. They don't show hardly anything. It's just kind of you see their reactions, you just see orange lights out in the distance, and then you see this giant beam of light and knocks the guy off his feet. They freak out, leave. When they come back, he's gone, and then he's missing for days. And I thought that element was the most interesting aspect of this, of just having this sort of missing person story. And there's a lot of doubt in the first half of whether or not these guys are telling the truth, or whether or not something else happened and maybe one of them killed him. So a lot of the town just thinks that he killed him, and then probably 3/4 through the movie, the guy shows back up again, and we kind of see his encounter, which is definitely played for frickin' terror.
And who is the actor that plays him? Because he did a really great job being just fucking absolutely terrified.
Is it Robert Patrick or is he?
No. He's not the guy.
Robert
that's
Patrick
abducted.
is in this.
He's not the one that's abducted, though. I forget the name of the actor that is abducted.
I have not seen
Plays
this
Travis
since I was
Walton.
13 years old, so
D.B. Swinney.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I saw it, but that scene is just so like, don't show that to a kid.
No, like I saw it when I was 13, and I still remember that fucking
yeah,
scene.
it's legit like one of the scariest kind of alien abduction recreations like I can think of.
Yeah, it will definitely make you think twice about E.T. and how friendly he is.
Yeah, because these ETs are out to fuck your butt with stuff.
Yeah, they definitely play this the freakiness of what these aliens are doing, and just the weirdness of them, the otherness of them is very freaky. I'll say most of the movie doesn't.
Or puppetry or whatever for them too. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty decent puppetry. I'll say like don't think the rest of the movie holds up quite as well. After that, the movie just kind of ends. It's kind of just like, well, it's over. And I think the middle section like goes on a little bit too long, where they're just kind of like waiting around trying to figure out what happened, and the townspeople are arguing about whether or not this actually happened. So some of that could have been done, I think, handled a little bit more interestingly. Yeah, and other than I think like the specific alien encounter scenes, there's not a whole lot else going on.
That's the reason to see it, man, and that like whole surgery scene, Jesus.
True.
But
it's
yeah,
kind of like how we
it.
tell you to see Jacob's Ladder just for the hospital scene, right? Like it's kind of the same thing, and it's the same vibe almost. Even though like they're two very different movies, you kind of feel the same way watching both of those scenes.
All right, so that was Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
What would your star rating be on that, Chris? I'm curious.
I think I gave it.
I feel like I saw this on Letterboxd and you gave it 2.5 stars.
I think 2.5. Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty solid rating. I mean,
Yeah,
some of
it
it'll
was
put
2.5.
you to sleep, but the parts that don't are pretty amazing.
I might
Yeah.
give it like from my recollection, I probably wouldn't go past 3, but 3 stars just for that scene. You know,
I'd probably go
sequence.
2.5. I've been having some dilemmas with rating things lately because I watched American Nightmares on HBO, and the whole movie sucked until they put a baby in a bag and smacked it against a pole until it died, and I'm like, I gotta add a star.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Also, James Gardner is in this movie, but not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Like he shows up and you're like, "Ooh, it's James Gardner," and it's like, "Oh, he's not really doing anything."
We need to see a movie where he gets abducted by aliens.
Ooh, yeah, that would have been interesting.
Okay, so the last pick for round 1. My first entry here is a film called Body Melt. It's directed by a guy named Philip Brody, who doesn't have like a long filmography. He's done a lot of different other things. This is a really weird movie.
He was a former professional wrestler known as Bruiser Brody.
No, it's not the same guy.
Not the same guy.
This is a really weird Australian horror movie.
All right.
It's really like nonsensical. The plot doesn't make much sense. There's no protagonist. You follow a bunch of different people. Basically, it's about this really kind of odd, sinister sort of health fitness company. They released this kind of experimental dietary supplement pill upon this small community in Australia called Pebbles Court. They kind of send it in the mail, so various families and residents get it. And it has like horrifying side effects. It like accelerates, I guess, like everything in your system and just wreaks havoc. So basically, you follow different people throughout this movie as this pill fucking destroys them. It also
it's a ripoff of The Stuff, more or less, right?
I guess that it's certainly aspects of that. It's aspects of maybe even like, you know, The Burbs and kind of Dead Alive in a way, Slither, if you want to something recent.
It's a lot like Dead Alive, actually.
And there's also a really weird B plot that follows kind of 2 residents of the town. They're kind of slackers, stoner dudes. Their car breaks down and they run into a family that's basically a ripoff of the Sawyer family from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And at first you're like, what the heck does this have to do with the main plot? And it really doesn't tie in until later on. But it's sort of odd. They kind of become friends with this family, even though they're really fucking weird and clearly kind of inbred hick, you know, and like they're not people you want to hang around. And then one of the dudes tries to hook up with this gross looking chick. and then eventually they like turn on them. But like it's just really weird. It ties in at some point. So the main reason to see this movie, I'm probably not doing a great job pitching it, is because the effects are pretty awesome. Like there's some really great practical special effects. It just really like shit hits the fan like at the end of Act 2. It has kind of a cool opening. It follows like the scientist who's been injected with this like medication, and he's trying to like track the side effects of it as he's like driving in a car, and it gets progressively worse. It's kind of a cool opening. Unfortunately, it just sort of meanders from there until the end of the second act. And I will say the gore, they don't hold any punches. There are a couple kids in the movie, they aren't immune to the effects here. I'm gonna read what's the Wikipedia entry on pretty much some of the side effects of this medication and kind of the gore you see in the movie, because it describes it better than I could. So it says the pills are consumed by the residents and produce liquefying flesh, elongated tongues, exploding stomachs, exploding penises, imploding heads, monstrous births, tentacles growing out of the face, living mucus, sentient placentas, and other gruesome mutations. It's been like a month or so since I saw it, so I don't remember every single one of those, but I think most of that's in there.
The dick exploding is in the movie. Yes.
There's also like at this like health center, there's a couple really like muscular dudes, and one of them has like a really high voice, which is super funny. This movie is really weird. Like if you just want to watch something weird that has some cool effects, like it's odd as hell. The story makes no sense.
I Google imaged this movie and I'm getting strong Society vibes.
Yeah, it's not as good as Society, but like the effects are good. So if you're like a horror gore nerd and you just like really cool special effects and you just want to see all that stuff, go for it. It's not
my people.
You know, it's something. So that's Body Melt.
Okay.
What a title.
I gotta say, Zach, you had me at exploding penises and sentient placentas.
Well, that was the Wikipedia entry, so I was just like, I have to read it.
But all of that shit is in the movie.
It is, yeah. Okay, so let's get to the voting for round one. So we have Arcade, we have Fire in the Sky, and we have Body Melts.
I do have to tell you guys that no dicks explode in Arcade. Unfortunately.
Ooh.
All right, Casey, you're up. Your first vote, man.
Okay, as much as I love Fire in the Sky, exploding penises, man. Sorry, Zach, I gotta give it to you.
All right.
I mean, I should be apologizing to our listeners for voting for something that Zach picked, but he picked this year. If he wins again, it's gonna be another shitty year.
Zachary, your vote.
My vote? This is tough because Fire in the Sky is definitely something I would enjoy more than Arcade. But Arcade,
100%. Vote for Fire in the Sky. Jesus Christ.
But it has Ralphie from Christmas Story and Seth Green.
And Encino Man's Megan Ward.
Okay, I'm gonna give the vote to Chris since it's his birthday, so I'm going Fire in the Sky.
Trust me, it's a much more deserving movie.
Okay.
Well, Casey, I'm sorry, I know this is going against your wishes somewhat. I mean, your wishes seem to be conflicting a little bit, but I think I have to go with Body Melt as well, just because I'm curious about these gore effects. This looks nasty.
It's a goopy-ass movie, man. It's like really goopy.
I like some goop.
All right, I won round one. Okay. Round one is in the books. Body Melt was the winner, so I was the winner. So I got 1 point for me. One more round, gentlemen, and I pick the next year. I hope you're ready.
I hope you've done your research this time.
No, I have not. Okay, so round two. I guess since I won, I get to pick. Chris, you can go first, man.
Oh, okay. So the next film I want to talk about, and I use the word film because this film is in the Criterion Collection, gentlemen.
Yes.
It's probably the only horror film from this year that even comes close.
And I have it, and I have that set, and I have not watched it from the set yet, so I don't know how good the Criterion version is. I'm assuming it's amazing.
I watched this on the streaming channel, and it's really, I mean, it's really great. It's a really good movie.
And so what film is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Cronos. This is Guillermo del Toro's first feature film. So it's kind of a half Spanish language, half English, mostly Spanish language. So this is basically a vampire movie where the vampirism is almost treated like a curse, or at least like a curse that can be infected from one person to another. So it's almost like a sort of like a virus vampire movie that has a lot to do with Frankenstein. Actually, you think he'd like borrow from like Dracula, but clearly Guillermo del Toro is obsessed with Frankenstein, and you just can't help but like feel the connection between that film and this one. It's basically about an old man who runs an antique store, finds this antique scarab, and it's this ornate contraption, and it injects him with this liquid that gives him youth, gives him energy, but also gives him the taste for human blood. And so he starts to become vampiristic. He has a granddaughter, and there's also an old man who is bedridden, who's trying to get the scarab, and he has a bruiser son played by Ron Perlman, a very young Ron Perlman, who's trying to get this scarab from the old man. So there's a bit of a like, almost like a sort of crime movie element to it. This was like I think this was not a huge success for Del Toro. I'm looking at like, it seems it was a $2 million.
I think Devil's Backbone was more successful than this one. Actually.
Yeah, but I think this got him, at least got him some attention because it was extremely critically praised when it came out. You know, this after this he got Mimic, which he hated because the studio did not give him final cut. So he basically said like, that's not my movie, and then went back to Mexico and made The Devil's Backbone, which is a fantastic movie as well. This is probably my least favorite of the sort of Spanish language Del Toro movies, but I still think it's really solid. It's extremely like kind of morose and quiet movie, except for Ron Perlman, who like steals the show as he, tends to do. He's fantastic and hilarious. His like rich father's always like asking him to like do something, and he's just constantly like, fuck.
He's very big in this movie.
He's very big in the movie. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, it has all the things that Del Toro loves, which is like creepy insect shit, monsters, and children, and sadness.
A lot of stuff that we saw a little bit in Mimic, actually.
I actually have not seen Mimic. I used to have a poster of Mimic 2, but I have not seen Mimic.
Oh, don't see 2. Just see 1. Just see 1. It's all right. Like, I see why he hates it, and it's not the movie he wanted to make, but it was kind of decent. It had the vibe of like a 90s Resident Evil video game, which sounds like horrible, but it worked.
He's supposedly working on a director's cut, but he's also... Del Toro likes to work on 15 things at once.
Where's my Haunted Mansion movie, Uncle Mimo?
I know, right?
Right?
I found a t-shirt the other day that said, like, give Del Toro the Haunted Mansion movie.
Yes.
Like all the t-shirt says.
So Cronos. Okay.
Cronos. It's on the Criterion channel, I believe. Check it out.
All right. I guess I'll go next. Why not?
Fuck you, Zach.
You can go if you want. I don't care.
I don't care. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
So, my second pick is a film called Needful Things. This is directed by Fraser Clark Heston, the son of Charlton Heston. And it stars the late, great Max von Sydow, who just passed away. Rest in peace, man. Wonderful, wonderful actor.
Rest in peace. Way to step on my Charlton Heston impression with death. Thanks.
Max von Sydow is one of the greatest actors who ever lived.
He's really fantastic, and he's phenomenal in this as well.
Yeah, let's not mince words. Charlton Heston also.
Bananas.
Out of my cold dead hands.
So sit down.
We have very different but sort of complimentary Charlton Heston impressions, Casey.
Yes, we do.
So
Zach doesn't have one.
I don't.
Zach just watches fucked up Stephen King movies.
Oh, this one wasn't that fucked up. So
The book's worse.
So Sindao plays Leland Gaunt, and the film revolves around this mysterious new shop that opens up in the town of Castle Rock, of course, and it's called Needful Things. And Sindao plays Leland Gaunt, the mysterious owner of this shop, and he is actually the devil, more or less, in disguise. He sells the residents of this town various kind of objects of great sentimental value to them. And in exchange, he asks for various favors and deeds. And of course, slowly but surely, he turns the town folks against each other, and anarchy ensues.
So, like, this is kind of like Friday the 13th, the TV series, before the good guys inherit the store.
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Wow.
But,
Glowing endorsement.
I mean, Sindao he's really captivating as Gaunt. He has this just really charming, kind of nefarious allure. He kind of makes the most of every scene he's in. Ed Harris is also in this. He's kind of the protagonist. He plays the sheriff of the town. He does what he does, man. He's fantastic as always. This movie is really, it's a slow burn compared to some Stephen King films. But it's a good watch as long as you stick with it. You know, again, like middle of the second act is when it starts to pick up and things kind of
So if you want to wait 50 minutes for something to happen.
It's not the best Stephen King adaptation for sure, but the acting is great. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how faithful it is to the book.
Is the book pretty popular? Because I feel like I've heard the title before, but I definitely have not seen
It's certainly been
was-
spoofed and parodied a bunch of times, like most Stephen King books have.
It was also like his most popular book of the time period because he wrote some kind of shitty books around then, I think, like Gerald's Game, that's like a book about jerking off, basically.
Well, like, I mean, you know, it certainly has a place in pop culture. If you've seen the Rick and Morty episode where, like, pretty much someone who's supposed to be like Leland Gaunt opens up a store. And so, like, you know, and he's the devil trying to sell things to people. So Rick, to spite him, opens up his own store and just selling without, like, all the horrible side effects and just, like all these, like, technologically advanced, like, gadgets to people. And he pisses off the devil. And, it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, so if you want to see where that comes from, watch Needful Things. It's not bad, and Sindao's great. Ed Harris is great. It's decent. It's a little slow. You know, make sure you had some caffeine before you watch it, otherwise you might fall asleep. But you know, don't go in expecting a lot of gore or scares. It's not that kind of film. But yeah, that's
or if you
Needful
can't
Things.
sleep, just turn on Needful Things.
Yes,
You'll drift right away.
Yes. All right, Casey, you're the last pick for round 2.
Okay, so this next movie isn't a good film.
Slightly
but it
better than
isn't-
Arcade.
It isn't a boring film either, so you got that. Okay. My pick is Ticks, one of many giant bug movies that came out in the early 90s, actually. It was kind of a trend for a little bit. This one stars such Lumiere cinema zeitgeist people as this man right here, Alfonso Ribeiro, aka Carlton Banks, aka your third favorite character on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and your second favorite character on Silver Spoons. It has Seth motherfucking Green. Let's hear it.
This is the
All
year
right.
of Seth Green.
It's Peter Billingsley in this one too.
Peter Billingsley is not in this one.
Damn it.
And if you look at the box, you would think this starred Amy Dolenz, who was in a ton of movies this year, including a couple other choices all of us could have picked, such as 1993's Witchboard 2, The Devil's Doorway, which I wish I watched instead of Arcade. But she's not even, like, fourth star of this movie. She's just kind of there. But it's a group of kids go to the forest to learn how to survive. Most of them are troubled kids that are there like on court-ordered reasons. Seth Green's there because his dad makes him go to get over his panic disorder by just setting him loose in the woods with a bunch of criminal kids. So the first criminal he meets is one hood-ass motherfucker. His name is Panic because he never does. Actual line. And he's played by Carlton Banks. So this whole movie is Carlton Banks, and now this is post Fresh Prince of Bel-Air by at least 2 seasons. Okay, he's trying to be tough street gangsta Carlton Banks, It's
fair
fucking
enough.
hilarious. This is worth the price of admission alone to see Carlton Banks stealing drugs and threatening to murder Seth Green at every opportunity. I recommend the movie for that alone because it is fucking funny. But there's other cool things about this movie. It's not great. I mean, giant bugs aren't all that interesting. You can only kill people so many ways. So they have to get like these rednecks that are like secondary antagonists in this movie and stuff like that.
The rednecks.
You also get to see Clint Howard and the legendary Rance Howard in a movie together. Clint Howard is one of the first people infested, and he's a very goopy, scary man. One of those guys that gets way up in your face when he has to tell you he's infected with something.
That part freaked me the hell out as a kid.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good because he basically tackles a girl and starts ripping on her, and good times. Yeah, it's the only, like, the criticisms I have is way too many of the kids survive. But there's not enough ways to kill someone with killer ticks. But I do gotta say, parts of the movie lull
could
and
find
get a
a
little
way,
boring.
Casey.
You have to keep watching the movie to see Carlton's death scene. I'm going to spoil it. He dies, and it's fucking spectacular, and you have to see it. And what happens to him as a result. It's pretty fucking great. Highlight of the film. So basically, if you took Carlton Banks out of this movie would be complete dog shit. But with Carlton Banks, I'd say it's a solid watch. It's on Amazon Prime streaming. You guys can watch it right now if you want. Most of us are Amazon Prime members. If you're not, you're fucking up because they have a lot of really good horror movies on there, and you should be a subscriber to it. But yeah, that's Ticks. This was one of the movies, like, when I was growing up, this was on cable, like, all the time.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
So I've probably seen 20 minutes of this movie at a time, like, 900 times, but this is the first time I actually, like, sat down and watched it start to finish. And while it wasn't a great movie, it was a lot better than fucking Arcade, I'll tell you that much.
That's the endorsement right there. It's a lot
Yes.
fucking better than Arcade.
Yeah, I saw this
Okay.
on TV. I saw this on TV as well when I was little, and it traumatized me just for specifically the Ron Howard just goopy part and the Carlton's death.
Yeah, because it's like, it's violent, but it doesn't show
Ugh.
nudity or anything, so they would just show it during the day on cable. They wouldn't wait until night because, you know, you have to have some nudity to do that usually.
Okay, so that is the end of round 2. Now the voting commences. I really need to chime in like some like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you know, like that music that comes in during like the after they've used a bunch of lifelines and it's like decision time. All right, so who wants to vote first?
I will because I have to vote for Kris. I'm sorry because his review did not say boring or slow once, so you win, Kris.
Oh, well, I'm voting for Casey because I want, not only do I want to see Ticks, I want to watch it tonight, and I might not watch the whole thing. I might skip around to some parts, but I definitely want to revisit that
As long as you see
experience.
Carlton explode, good times.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Okay, so that's up to me. You know, I love Guillermo del Toro, but not as much as I love Ticks eating Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I'm going to vote for Ticks as well.
Nice. I hope this carries over because my next movie is actually like fucking amazing.
Okay. All right. So Casey is the winner of round 2. So if Kris wins the next round, we're going to be in a sudden death 3-way tie, and I'm not sure what happens after that. So
I
we'll
was
see.
gonna say, I hope you have something prepared for that.
We're gonna let the listeners vote, or we could flip coins.
A 3-sided coin.
No, you flip 3 coins, and then whoever's the odd person out is the one that wins.
We will think of something on the spot because that's the best way to do it. But let's come to that road if we cross it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so before we get to round 3, I'm just going to do a quick social media plug just to give us a quick breather. So if you have not already, please do follow us on Twitter. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/MPOSofficial. That's twitter.com/MPOSofficial. We also have a new YouTube page. You can find the YouTube page from our Twitter account. It's like in our Twitter bio, so just click there and then you can subscribe.
We don't have an address yet, so that's how you gotta do it.
You need the more of you guys that subscribe to us, we'll be able to get a custom URL and get things really rolling. But you can also please subscribe.
Please.
You can also just search Another Miserable Podcast on YouTube and you'll find it. There's a few select episodes up there as long as all the new ones are uploaded there. And every episode of the show is available on every major podcast streaming platform. So Apple, Google, Spotify, Audify, all the Audifys, Stitcher. So it's on everything. We do 2 episodes a month generally, with a couple exceptions if things happen. Coronavirus hopefully will not affect the next episode of the show.
We'll see.
If it does and we all become zombies, this will just become the zombie miserable podcast.
Yeah.
Just be like,
It'll just be another miserable zombie podcast.
Crimson Peak is underrated.
you just sound like Triple H.
All right, so that is... You can also check out our blog. It hasn't been updated. I mean, it's only updated for the podcast at this point, but that's miserablepilesecrets.com. Miserablepilesecrets.com. There's some fun articles on there. I just keep it up for the podcast at this point, but maybe I'll do some other stuff in the future. The latest article on there is an article about 3 films from Shudder that I recommended, which I definitely check that out because they're all great.
Because all of the conventions we were going to go to and bring you content got fucking canceled, so... Sorry?
We did go to Slashback Video a couple weeks ago before coronavirus hit, and that was fun.
We should probably do a story on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're in the Burbank area, I highly recommend going over to the Bearded Lady Mystic Museum in Burbank and checking out the Slashback Video exhibit, or just the store in general. It's a really cool place.
Yeah,
So highly recommend.
over on Magnolia. Between Hollywood Way and Buena Vista.
Yeah, right near where I live.
So for those of you that are trying to dox Zach, triangulate.
Okay, so let's get back to what we're doing here, folks. Round 3 of another Miserable Retrospective 1993 edition.
Okay, so which of us hasn't gone first yet?
Chris.
All right.
Hello.
I have many questions about this movie for you.
This is something fun.
This is a hotly debated film. I think I'm on the minority side of the debate for this film.
You might actually share that with the author of the Freddy vs. Jason Slash of the Titans book, but we'll see.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing, guys. When I was a teenager, or like 12 years old or so, whatever, and I was going through all the Friday the 13th movies for the first time, by the time you get to Jason Takes Manhattan, one, you're like, okay, well, this film is fucking shit.
And it fucked everything up. The ending is just fucked.
Honestly, I wish they would just try something different. Well, when you get to the next film, which is 1993's Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, you walk away with a feeling of like, well, at least they did something different. And that's my defense of Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday.
I feel like they should have sent the motherfucker to space a year early, or 7 years early when it finally came out. Yeah.
Now, this is not a boring movie.
No, but I do gotta ask you, did you see the R-rated version or did you see the director's cut?
Well, I've seen both versions, but the director's cut is vastly superior. I
Yes.
think. So yeah, the first time I saw this, I think was on VHS or possibly on TV.
I saw
but then
this
later I got and I was like, okay, whatever. It was weird. It was different.
I saw this at the theater the weekend it came out.
Was it the R-rated version or the director's cut?
100% R-rated.
Oh yeah. They wouldn't have shown the director's cut because the director's cut is essentially an unrated cut.
Yeah, and they were one of the first VHSs to come out with the director's cut right away, like as a VHS release. Yeah.
Oh well, then I might have only ever seen the director's cut then, because I had a DVD of this with the director's cut on it. Yeah, I think one thing I also just appreciated about this movie growing up is that it's gory as fuck. Like this is one of the, if not the goriest of the Jason Friday movies.
I'd say it's a tie with 4 as far as gore goes, but 4 had a lot of cuts to it.
Yeah. So, just rewind. If anyone's not seen Jason Goes to Hell and wonders what even the hell we're talking about, this is the ninth installment in the Friday the 13th franchise. This is basically a response to Jason Takes Manhattan underperforming, doing pretty poorly at the box office. So they were like, okay, what if we tried something just wildly different? And they found somebody who had a crazy idea and just gave him the reins. So the plot of this movie is that Jason is blown the fuck up in the first 10 minutes of the movie by a SWAT team.
Yeah,
which I think is just really funny and really interesting.
And that scene was fucking awesome. I hate this movie, and okay, let's put it this way: Friday the 13th movie I hate is still above like lots of other movies.
Okay. Wait, hold on. I just want to say I'm surprised Casey has been as calm during this as he is, because he has told me privately in confidence how much he despises Jason Goes to Hell, and then it's like the one movie he refuses to talk about on the podcast.
No, but you know what? I watched Jason Takes Manhattan again since then, and it's way worse than this movie. Like, way worse.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. So, yeah, so Jason gets blown the fuck up, and then his heart and the rest of his body parts end up in a morgue. Something weird happens. The morgue attendee basically decides to just start eating his heart, because it looks pretty tasty, pretty delicious. It reminded me of like what the old KFC honey barbecue ribs or honey barbecue strips used to look like, just like dripping with the stuff. So then he gets embedded with Jason's soul, I guess. And Jason continues to wreak havoc, except he doesn't look like Jason. He looks like a black guy about the same size wearing a doctor's coat. And then proceeds to body swap from body to body, looking for his sister, which they just introduced in this movie. So this movie basically, like, screenplay-wise, just like went like, what are the other movies doing? What's Halloween doing? Okay, there's a sibling. We'll put in a sibling.
Freddy's Dead had the daughter. It's really a trend at this time.
There's a guy who's like his Van Helsing, like Dr. Loomis. So we'll introduce this guy named what's his name? I wanted to call him Doc.
Oh, god damn it!
It's
I don't
Duke.
remember.
Duke.
Creighton Duke. Yes.
Creighton Duke, who's the best character in this movie. The performance from this actor is fantastic. He's basically like this guy who claims to have been chasing Jason all of his life, even though we've never
not
seen
very
him.
well.
Not very well. We have not seen him in any of the previous eight movies, nor did he like just think like, oh well, if I am chasing Jason down, maybe I should just go to Camp Crystal Lake where he always is. Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions there. I like to pretend that this movie takes place like 30 years after the events of Jason Takes Manhattan, and that Creighton Duke came along somewhere, and that Jason Goes to Hell is like part 25, and that Creighton Duke just came along somewhere in part like 12.
I like to pretend that the series stopped at the end of part 5. Actually.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting. So yeah, this movie is gory as fuck. It's weird as hell. Jason, apparently, he's not just a soul. He's like some weird demonic worm thing that, just lives in this corpse with a hockey masked body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's a cameo.
And climbs up Aaron Gray's hoo-ha. Yeah.
Yeah. This movie has zero taste.
So, she didn't know that shot was happening? They didn't tell her they used stand-in legs, and she didn't see that until the premiere, and apparently was fucking livid.
Oh, man. I listened to the commentary from the director in this movie, like, way back in the day, and he was appalled at himself. He was like, my God, who made this movie?
They actually
only a 20-year-old could have made this movie.
They have some really interesting stuff about it on Crystal Lake Memories, which I highly recommend watching.
I'll have to give that a shot.
You want to watch a 4-hour documentary, now's the time,
Oh yeah, for sure. So my defense of Jason Goes to Hell, most people hate it because Jason isn't in it very much, at least not in his like traditional form. It makes no sense. It's pretty meandering. It focuses more on the characters than it does Jason, which I actually think the characters aren't that bad. I think our main actor guy Steven is actually pretty interesting.
That guy had no business surviving the movie either.
Yeah, I mean he's at least he's from another movie for sure, but at least he's not. At least he has a character.
He's like
Creighton
the
Duke
jock
is
boyfriend
awesome.
that should die in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, Creighton Duke is fucking awesome. There's a scene where for some reason Jason straps a guy down like S&M style and then shaves his mustache before he possesses his body.
Yeah, it's a
No
little
explanation why.
Yeah, it's because he needed to kiss him to put the blood in his mouth.
And the mustache got in his way. Are you saying people with
Yeah.
mustaches can't kiss people?
Mustaches tickle.
This movie. This is actually I'll say like this is a movie that deserves to be watched with like a group of people and some alcohol, and you'll have a good time, I promise.
I feel like, okay, I do hate this movie, but I gave it a solid 2 stars on Letterboxd because there's some cool shit that happens in this movie. But I gotta say that if you're brought in for the last movie, and I'm not just talking to the director of this, I'm also talking to the director of Freddy's Dead, for example. If you're brought in to be the director of the last movie in a franchise, just give the people what they want, give them the franchise. I don't really care that Jason's not in it that much because I love part 5 where Jason's not even really in the movie, spoilers. But this was a ripoff of another movie that sounds really familiar. Zach, you reviewed a movie very similar to this. What was that one called?
The Hidden?
Yes.
Awesome movie. If you've not seen that, watch that movie right now.
This basically becomes a remake of The Hidden, in my opinion.
I'm talking to you, Chris. I know you haven't watched it yet.
I know, it's on my list.
Uh-huh.
You basically just saw the lesser remake right now. You should see the original.
Yeah, The Hidden is fantastic. Anyway, so that was Jason Goes to Hell.
Nice.
I'm still impressed that you kept your composure, Casey. I know how much you hate that movie.
Seriously though, Jason Takes Manhattan, I hate that a lot more. I was surprised. But yeah. Because at least, okay, Jason's mask never comes off in Jason Goes to Hell, but there are design documents that show what his face looks like, and they did have to fill in the blanks and show you what his face looked like in the video game. Still better than that piece of shit you saw at the end of Jason Takes Manhattan, because if you're going to fuck the audience on one thing, you do not fuck them on the Jason unmasking. God damn it. How's that for keeping my fucking composure, Zach?
It's good. All right, you want to settle down and actually talk about a movie you like, Casey?
No, I think you need to go next just so I can calm down a little bit.
Okay. So my last pick is a film called Body Bags. It's directed by John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
And it is an anthology film. It was a TV movie actually released on Showtime. I think they were planning to do more with it than they did, and they just ended up just having it just kind of be this 3 kind of stories.
Yeah, like they wanted it to be a series pilot, maybe?
Yeah, according to Wiki, something like that. Yeah, but they just ended up with the 3 stories, and it's a fun time. Carpenter narrates the film himself. He plays this really goofy, over-the-top coroner, and he's walking around this morgue and like poking at like the body bags and just making all sorts of puns. It's
do you
pretty
know what's
hilarious.
creepy about that, Zach? They put him in all kinds of like fucked up old age makeup, and he just looks like he does now.
That's true. But it's a fun time, man. There's a lot of cameos from a lot of people. Sam Raimi plays a corpse in one of these stories. Wes Craven has a really goofy cameo, playing this pervy old dude, I believe. David Naughton has a fun part. So there are 3 stories. The problem with the film really is that the stories kind of get progressively worse. The first one is by far the best. It's called The Gas Station, and it's about a new employee working a night shift at a gas station. She's all by herself, and just kind of strange things start to happen. She starts to see shadowy figures. There's it takes place in Haddonfield, and there's like a killer on the loose. It's not Michael, but there's some sort of like killer on the loose. So she keeps looking around every corner. Different things could happen. She gets locked out of her booth. Robert Carradine has a really fun part. I won't spoil what his role is. But if you want to see the dad from Lizzie McGuire do something different, check this out.
He just shows up and goes, ah, ah, ah.
He's pretty great. The next story is called Hair, and this one is really silly. It's about a balding dude that just really hates that he's balding.
Can I say something about the Robert Carradine thing?
Yeah, sure.
He has a family history in horror. He was like the last fucking holdout. This was him finally getting to his family roots, because John Carradine, motherfucker, was Dracula. David Carradine, tons of horror movies and exploitation films. And this is the first time we got to see Robert in a horror movie, as far as I know. And if I'm wrong, please correct me, listeners, because I want to see that shit.
Yeah, he played like a character named Malachi Van Helsing in a Disney TV movie called Mom's Got a Date with the Vampire.
Malachi Van
I remember
Helsing.
that film.
It's actually pretty good for a Disney TV movie. I like that movie.
Malachi Jackson Van Helsing.
And the guy that plays the vampire in that is pretty good.
Hey, you know it's great? My fucking Leatherface chainsaw just broke. Fuck.
Okay, so back to body bags. So yeah, the gas station is really enjoyable. The next one is called Hair. It's very silly. It's about this middle-aged dude who's balding, and he has a really hot girlfriend somehow. He just can't get over the fact that he's balding, and he's doing like anything he can to make his hair look better. And he hears of this experimental like hair transplant, and he goes to this place, and he gets like Fabio like style hair from it, and it just gets longer and longer, and things
But the
get out of control.
twist is that it's his pubic hair. That would have saved the segment, Zach.
Yeah, so it's very goofy. It's not scary, but it's interesting. The last
And
one,
I actually think Hair is a ripoff of a 50s horror comic that I've read, honestly.
it probably is. The
Yeah.
last one is a very similar plot, but it's much kind of more serious. It's called I, and it stars Mark Hamill in some kind of weird sort of makeup. He plays a baseball player. He gets in a horrible accident, and he basically loses his eye.
Mm-hmm.
And again, similar to the last story, he gets a eye transplant, like a weird experimental eye transplant. Causes him lots of problems. It turns out the eye used to belong to like a convicted serial killer.
As
And-
it does.
Yeah. It's unfortunately the weakest story because it's just kind of long-winded and sort of boring. Hamill is great in it though, so it's worth watching for that.
But if I would recommend the similar Seth Green driven Idle Hands. Seth Green, star of this episode.
Idle Hands is fantastic. Yeah, definitely check out Idle Hands. But
That's actually coming out on Blu-ray very soon.
we might cover that in another episode, so I'm sure we will at
Yeah.
some point.
Indeed.
But yeah, so that's Body Bags. It's a fun time. John Carpenter does a great job kind of the in between the
I
segments.
just can't believe they went to the fucking transplant well twice in
yeah,
a
that's the problem.
three-story
Like
movie.
they
yeah.
the last two are like just, it's the same type of story, just different tones. And it's kind of odd. But the first one is great, and it's a decent watch. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's fun. It would have been interesting to see if they like turned that into a series and kind of where it went.
And this is on Shudder or Amazon Prime that you saw it? It's
Shudder.
on one of the two.
Shudder,
Yeah.
Shudder.
One of the two.
But yeah, it's if you want to see Carpenter kind of pull out his inner crypt keeper, well, go for it.
I always
Whoa.
felt like I needed to see this.
Hey, he's trying to put Kevin Bacon to shame. He's pulling out his Crypt Keeper. Shit. That is what I call my dick. They look very similar. I mean the
Okay,
puppet
Casey.
version.
Okay, Casey. So I know you have a film you really want to talk about. So what is your last pick for round
I
3?
just wanted to talk about how much my dick looks like the Crypt Keeper. Actually, it's all
Wow.
fucking brown and ashy. No, okay, sorry, folks. I have to stop talking about my dick and talk about the movie I watched instead. Unfortunately, this movie. Holy shit! This is one of the greatest fucking things I've ever seen. I'm just gonna get that out there, okay? This is a movie called Mahakaal, and I'm gonna spell that for you because after this episode, you're gonna want to look it up. You're gonna want to type it in
I'm
on
gonna look it up
YouTube,
right
and
now.
you're gonna want to watch it yourself. It is Mahakaal, Mahakaal. So Mahakaal means monster, okay? So, this is a Hindi movie, all right? So it's got a very Bollywood feel to it. And I feel like Bollywood movies are very, very underappreciated. As someone that has gone through film school, as a podcast of all people that have gone through film school, how many times has Bollywood film been mentioned in any of your classes? Probably zero,
Very
right?
little. It's
Yeah,
very
not
scared.
that much.
Most film classes now do not... They act like Indian cinema didn't exist until Slumdog Millionaire, okay? And
Or
that
you
is
say,
very much
Are you talking
not
about
the case.
Satyajit Ray and that's it? You talk about Panther Panchali and that's it.
And that's if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you have an international cinema teacher that doesn't make you see Italian films for 75% of the course like I did, because she was Italian. But Oh, I could tell you about machiste movies all fucking day. But anyway, this is the Bollywood Hindi version of Nightmare on Elm Street. And goddamn, it's amazing. Okay, so first thing I gotta tell you is some of it seems a little low budget, some of it seems very high budget. There's no rhyme or reason to where the money goes in this movie, and that makes it better for it. Unfortunately, the YouTube version has a couple hiccups with the audio because it uses a little bit of copywritten music, but we'll get to that later. The movie opens up with like a very spooky, atmospheric scene where we're introduced to our Freddy Krueger type character who has a sick fucking mullet, okay? So he's got Freddy's exact face to where I think they actually bought a Freddy mask and turned it into appliances because the edges look like shit. So that's probably what happened. But there's a sick mullet, which I think is to hide possibly the seam of the mask if they're just straight up putting the mask on someone's face. Now, he also has his own version of the glove, which is pretty similar to the regular glove we see, but they fucking chromed it out so that it's shiny gold, right? And then the rest of what he wears, keep in mind, this is 1993. The rest of what he wears and some of the mullet might be inspired by the fact that the rest of him is dressed exactly like The Undertaker. So he has gray gloves, he has a trench coat on. I think that they tried to combine WWE superstar The Undertaker with Freddy Krueger to make this character.
Wow.
And it's fucking great. Okay, so then all that goes away. And it becomes a movie about a bunch of teens that are friends hanging out. And every once in a while it breaks out into song. And there's like a 5 or 6 minute song and dance number, which you could fast forward through. But if you do, I don't think that we could be friends. One of the kids is clearly in his 30s and wants to be Michael Jackson.
Oh no.
And so
Oh no.
one of the characters in this movie is Indian Michael Jackson, okay?
So wait, so we have Indian Michael Jackson and a Freddy
Yes.
Krueger Undertaker hybrid.
Yes.
Please tell me they interact.
Not much,
Oh.
actually. Unfortunately,
Oh man.
he's one of the only people that doesn't get victimized by Freddy.
No.
Like he's not worth his time or something.
Damn.
I waited for it the whole fucking movie. This Michael Jackson guy plays like 3 characters in this fucking movie. None of them interact with Freddy.
Oh.
Yeah. They really blur the rules between dreams and nightmares too. Like, I'm not even sure how much of it takes place in the real world and how much of it takes place in the dream world. We do get to eventually see the John Saxon flashback, because, you know, she does have the dad that's the cop. A lot of the beats are stolen directly from Nightmare on Elm Street, except that they have to do cheaper versions of them. Some of it's better, though. So, like, you know, when Rod dies in Nightmare on Elm Street, he gets hung by a bedsheet. Kind of interesting, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Freddy makes fucking cobras come out of the walls and bite him in this movie. That's fucking dope. That's way cooler than making it look like somebody hung themselves. Come on.
I like cobras.
They also have a scene where Freddy gets his legs crushed by a spiked torture device.
Is his name Freddy in this?
I don't know what his fucking name is. Okay, here's the problem. This movie does not have subtitles, and it is not in English.
Oh, shit.
I don't know what fucking anyone is called other than, like, the main characters, which we have, like, Tima instead of Tina. And they really go straight up, like, we have our Nancy character, we have our Johnny Depp character, who's a lot more of an action hero. Every once in a while, there's fight scenes that have nothing to do with Freddy, and you get to see some Indian karate, and it's fucking amazing. So this is like 10 different kinds of movies in one movie with Nightmare on Elm Street holding it together. And that's common for a Bollywood film. But if you've never seen one, this is the one to start with. So like I was saying, they're having this big battle. Instead of a boiler room, Freddy kind of has this building full of traps and this big sculpture of a skull that's made out of people that's kind of fucking awesome looking. And there's a scene where he gets his legs crushed by a spiked ceiling, so he's crawling after her without legs. Sure. It looks pretty fucking hokey, but it's awesome. And There's a pretty definitive death of Freddy in this. But there's a scene where he gets an axe thrown in his head. Not in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, but I dare all of you to see this movie and not wish that John Saxon put an axe in Robert Englund's fucking head in that movie. Because it added so much to the film. I fucking love this. This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. It is a mishmash of so many things and things that are familiar to you through a different lens that makes it unfamiliar and fucking crazy. And Indian Michael Jackson. He's the reason a lot of it gets muted because he has a whole dance number as Indian Michael Jackson, like right at the beginning of the movie. So Freddy and the Undertaker, two of my favorite characters of all time, meshed into one, along with Indian Michael Jackson, equals fucking see this movie, Mahakaal, available on YouTube, Mahakaal. Yes, it is in another language. No, that will not ruin your enjoyment of this movie. Go for it.
That was a hell of a pitch, Casey. That was a hell of a pitch.
I fucking love this movie. It deserves no less than a pitch like that.
Okay. Well, let's just jump right into the voting, guys. Voting round 3, the last round of 1983, another miserable retrospective. Let us do it. All right. Who wants to vote first?
Chris, I'm sorry. I cannot in good conscience ever vote for Jason Goes to Hell.
Does that mean you vote for Body Bags?
I was gonna say.
By default, Body Bags wins.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Go for it, Chris.
Oh, this is tough. Oh shit. Because I feel like I have to see Body Bags at some point because I haven't seen it, and it's John Carpenter and so many cameos. But Casey did a really good job making me want to see this Mahakaal film.
Right?
I think I gotta give it to Mahakaal.
And I didn't even mention that they rip off the waterbed kills from part 4.
Oh, shoot.
I didn't even mention that. I forgot to add that part. God damn it.
Okay, so your fate is in my hands, Casey.
I guess.
So I could send us to a 3-way tie right now.
I mean, go ahead.
I cannot send us to a 3-way tie right now. Well, I would send us to a stalemate in this round, and if that's the case, then it would just be a tie between me and Casey. But I'm not going to do that, because I'm going to vote for you, Casey, because you sold me on that movie. I'm giving it to Mahakaal. Casey, congratulations, sir. You have won the 1993 edition of another miserable retrospective.
Okay, so I'm not going to fuck us like you fucked us, Zach. All right?
You have to pick a year at random. You cannot vet it.
No, there's never a random with me. I study the years. No, honestly, what I would like to do is we've done 87, we've done 89, let's do 1988. It's a great movie year.
Ooh.
Well, I obviously right away I know some movies that are out in 1988 that I could cover, but
no, 1988, not 98.
No, I know 88.
You said 98. You're trying to change the fucking rules, Zach.
I just want to say for the listeners that were disappointed that I did not pick Hocus Pocus today, I apologize.
All one of you.
All one of you.
Sorry, Miss Midler.
This is a damn good year, son.
I'm trying to check my Letterboxd right now. By the way, folks at home, if you're not on Letterboxd, go look at Letterboxd, and if you want to see like a certain genre in the movies that came out that year, Letterboxd is way more comprehensive than IMDb.
Right.
Google. So I highly recommend.
Guys, there's like 9 movies I want to talk about on here.
Honestly, like if you just look at horror, just films period in 88, it's such a great year for movies that you can find like 5 horror movies just in the first 2 rows.
Whew.
Some of them we've already talked about, though, so we will not be talking about Scrooged on that episode, for example.
No, we will pick some deep cuts, some films you might not expect, because that's what we like to do here on Another Miserable Podcast. But yes, I am looking at this right now, and this is quite the list, so...
Yeah. Willow is not a horror film, Zach.
Shit!
Just saying.
I don't know. I've never seen Willow.
Big. It could be a horror film, depending on how you feel about the relationship between the lady and Tom Hanks.
It's going to be hard for me not to pick some of these movies, but I want to stretch myself with this year.
Fuck, man, I've already got my 3, and they're weird. Okay.
Are you going to talk about Hack-A-Lantern, Casey?
No, but I own Hack-A-Lantern on fucking Blu-ray. Boom. Shit, I should talk about Hack-A-Lantern, but
Save it for the episode, Casey.
yeah.
You gotta keep this under wraps.
I do own one of the very
Keep our
few
picks.
copies of that movie on physical media.
All right, guys, so that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully, we'll have some more reviews coming up. I know The Hunt just came out, so we will try and cover that in some way.
I'm not going to a movie theater, bro.
AMC has cut back on the amount of tickets they're selling. Only 50% full.
The governor of California, while we were recording, shut down all bars
Really?
and pubs. Yeah.
All bars?
All bars and pubs.
All the bars.
Wow.
They're all gone.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. We will do our best to get an episode out before the end, another episode out before the end of the month. Stay tuned on that note. If we don't, blame coronavirus, but we will do our best.
We'll do streaming movies. It's fine. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we can
Have
do
a
streaming
great-
movies for sure.
Have a great apocalypse out there, you guys.
Please stay
Yes,
safe. Wash your
yeah.
hands. Be courteous of others. Just because you're young and vibrant and think nothing's going to kill you doesn't mean that this virus isn't going to affect somebody that you know or care about or love. So please be considerate of everybody around you. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, and stay clean, stay safe, get tested if you need to.
Wipe your ass. Please wipe your ass if you're not wiping your ass.
But at a regular amount. You don't need to wipe your ass 117 times,
Unless
which
it's like
apparently
one of
people are
those-
doing.
Unless it's like one of those times where you're just like wiping a marker.
If
you know?
you've stockpiled like 30 things of toilet paper, you fucking suck.
Yeah, fuck you.
Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, do you want to plug your Twitter accounts before we end things today?
No.
Okay, you can follow Casey on twitter.com/luchagringo. That's Luchagringo. You can follow my friend Chris Pistol at twitter.com/Chris Pistol. That's KrisPistole. Drop him a line and wish him a happy belated birthday.
Blah.
And you can follow me at twitter.com/Earth2McFly. That's Earth, the number 2, McFly. Please follow our Twitter account if you haven't at twitter.com/MPUSofficial. We're on everything. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our next episode of another miserable retrospective will be 1988. That'll come at some point in the future. And hopefully we will have another episode for you at the end of this month. If not, there will be one in April, beginning of April. All right.
If not, you're not fucking paying us. You're not a boss.
Okay, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great week.